The androids have been defeated, the future timeline saved. What left is there to do for our heroes? Well, although the peace does last long, it will not be permanent, because there are two entities awakening at about the same time. The first being the monstrous Majin Buu, and to stop his revival, the Supreme Kai and his assistant gather the strongest people in the universe to help them, so pretty much just Gohan and Nappa. The second entity to come forth is that of the god of destruction, Beerus, who is in search of his perfect rival. However, since the requirements for Super Saiyan God aren't met here, instead he's looking for someone different, this time being a mortal with the perfect capacity for Ultra Instinct. Although he doesn't enter the story for a couple of minutes, so you'll have to wait on that. In the meantime, let's focus on the first of these two threats. The Supreme Kai would begin training Nappa and Gohan. There was no tournament coming up, so after these 7 years pass from the defeat of the androids, Supreme Kai and Kibito just come to Gohan and Nappa's residence, where they would find each Saiyan and recruit them for training, much like they did for future Trunks in his timeline. And while training these two, they would become exceptionally powerful, both taking their turns on the Z-Sword, while also eventually breaking it and bringing forth the Elder Kai. He agrees to awaken their potentials if they hand over some pictures of a hot babe. It's been a while since he got to see one, and he'd definitely love to, experience that sensation. And as it just so happens, Nappa always carries a couple with him in his back pocket, just in case he wants that sensation that isn't YouTube friendly. They're two horny old dudes, it's shonen, what do you expect? Either way, Elder Kai would perform the ritual, and both Nappa and Gohan would achieve the potential unleashed state. It's an incredible power-up that allows them to use their maximum potential in their base form. That way, they're conserving stamina while still using what is equivalent to the power of their greatest transformation. The best part is that now Nappa can use Kaioken on top of his Super Saiyan form, since he's not technically using Super Saiyan, and there's no strain from the golden hair transformation, so Nappa can stack his Kaioken technique on top with little to no difficulty. It's only as stressful as it would be on his base form, so he's pretty busted. However, with the insane potential that comes from being a hybrid Saiyan, Gohan would still somehow be stronger. Even when Nappa's using Kaioken, Gohan is able to keep pace, leading to the two's training being incredibly effective. Even if they don't have the Z-Sword, they're able to get much stronger in only a matter of a couple of days. Supreme Kai would eventually find out where Babidi and his henchmen are located, and using the Kai technique, he would teleport himself, Nappa, and Gohan all to the area. Sadly, Kibito probably wouldn't be much help, and they don't want to risk Beerus dying by having both of their Supreme Kais at risk, since even though he's technically still in training, if Shin were to die, he would take over as Supreme Kai. And let me tell you, Gohan and Nappa working together are able to cut through all of Babidi's men like a hot knife through butter. Pui Pui and Yakon are absolutely no threat. Pui Pui would be overpowered with ease in just one of their base forms, and Gohan would be able to use Super Saiyan to overload Yakon with light. Granted, Nappa could probably do the same, but I don't know how exactly hair equates to light in the Super Saiyan form, so it's probably better to just have Gohan do it. But then there's the problem of Deborah, who is incredibly powerful, as strong as potentially Super Perfect Cell, although it might just be regular Perfect Cell. Either way, this is a threat unlike anything Gohan or Nappa have ever faced before. However, the two working together using their ultimate forms are able to easily overpower the demon, and Nappa could have done the same if he just used Kaioken, although he probably would have needed to amp it up to like ×5 to equate for Gohan's power. And with all of Babidi's henchmen gone, and there's no way the Warlock has enough energy to revive Buu, he's kind of screwed here. Shin would teleport over to the egg and then teleport it to the realm of the Kais. Nappa would then squash the bug that is Babidi under his boot, quite literally in fact. Although we might have to censor that because squishing a child-sized man to death under one's boot is probably pretty disturbing imagery. So Nappa just uses a ki blast and kills Babidi right there and then. He then teleports himself and Gohan back to the planet of the Kais, wherein they question how they're supposed to dispose of Boo's egg without accidentally waking the Majin. So Shin brings up the possibility of Beerus coming in and erasing it. However, Kibito warns that could result in the death of far more than just Boo, at least with his experience under the God of Destruction. And although Shin agrees, there's nobody else in the universe strong enough to get rid of Boo's egg, except for Whis, but if he were to come in, then Beerus would probably know about it and also be woken up. Plus, they have no jurisdiction over the angels, so they would need to have Beerus give the command. So even if it is a little risky, they have no other choice but to involve the God of Destruction. I mean, after all, destroying things is kind of his job. Nappa, however, is incredibly interested in this idea. A being who is literally the god of killing things. Nappa wants to fight him. But really, what Saiyan wouldn't? Well, Gohan, who asks if he can be brought back to Earth, and Nappa agrees, using instant transmission to teleport his little buddy there, before then teleporting back to the realm of the Kais. He's gotten pretty good with it over the last couple of years. Problem is, he usually teleports underground, so he's kind of just stuck in the middle of dirt and has to burrow himself up like a rabbit. A couple more days pass of the Saiyan training on the realm of the Kais, when suddenly two figures arrive there, that being Whis and the God of Destruction, Beerus. For a moment, Shin believes the god is here to help with the whole Boo situation. However, he isn't. He would be told of Majin Buu and his egg and how they needed him to destroy it, so he gives it a quick glance and points a single finger out. Hakai. Before mentioning what he came here to actually discuss, that of the Saiyan in front of them, the bald-headed man. He can tell instantly this was the one from his dream, although he doesn't seem to have Ultra Instinct, but Beerus decides to test it, sucker punching Nappa straight in the gut, causing the Saiyan to recoil in pain. The big lug falls to one knee and asks what that was for. However, Beerus explains that he's looking for somebody with instantaneous movement, somebody who can react to pretty much anything, much like their angel Whis here. Beerus then commands that Whis turns around and closes his eyes. He does so as Nappa watches, and Beerus goes to hit a strike right on Whis' back. However, the angel instantly turns around, catching Beerus' fist without so much as opening his eyes. It might be hard for Nappa to wrap his head around, but Whis is able to move instantly to respond to any action. He doesn't know what's about to happen, but he can react with lightning-fast speed and precision. Whis then begins to explain it, coaching Nappa through the basics of Ultra Instinct. He has to calm his body and sharpen his mind, but not too much. Find a perfect balance. And seeing as Nappa already does the opposite, he kinda just flips it on his head. He focuses all of his energy on thinking, while his body does the rest of the work. And this works, since Nappa is already pretty absent of mind. By focusing most of his efforts on thinking about his next move, he's able to maintain a level of balance between his mind and body unparalleled to any other warrior, save the angels. And as he achieves this yin-yang-like state, Nappa's hair begins to turn white, or his mustache does. As his power increases many times over, he's even stronger than in his ultimate form, by hundreds of times even. He is incredibly powerful in this state, and he has no idea how he's even doing it. Although in only a couple of seconds, Nappa falls out of the transformation and falls to the ground nearly dead. His stamina is nowhere near enough to maintain Ultra Instinct for even more than a moment, so Kibito rushes over and heals the dying Saiyan. He was near dead from just using that form for a second, not even. Causing Beerus to wonder if Nappa will ever be able to truly achieve this form, at least in a practical sense. But Whis thinks he can, since the only real problem here is stamina. His use of Ultra Instinct was flawless. As long as they train him to increase his overall power and durability, as well as definitely stamina reserves, then he should be able to utilize Ultra Instinct effectively, and they definitely need to get him God Ki. as it would increase all of his stats by at least 100 times. So they bring him to Beerus' planet. He was already training on the realm of the Kais, so there's no harm in just bringing him to a better training location, as well as giving him much better teachers. Once Nappa wakes up, Whis would introduce him to the idea of the God Key realm, an area inside of the Angel's staff that would allow him to learn how to utilize God Key to an incredible degree. It will not only allow his body to naturally take in godly energy, but it will also teach him to master that very same key in a matter of days. Although he is warned that it will feel like a couple of months on the inside, it's just a couple of days on the outside. So he will also be given the necessary provisions, that way he doesn't starve or die of thirst while inside of the room. And Nappa agrees. It's not like he has anything better to do, and he's not Goku or Vegeta. He doesn't have a family to go back to. He definitely has a ton of kids, but they don't need him. And he's able to train for as long as he wants to without anybody worrying. So he just kinda stays on Beerus' planet. The first few days of training inside of the God Key realm are a bit tough for him. His body needs to learn how to take in God Key, although after it does, he's able to start moving with it pretty easy. Nappa doesn't think before he moves. He does have conservative movement, he's not just going to throw useless punches, but he also isn't going to think out every single step he takes. So he's pretty much perfect for learning God Key inside of this realm. It takes him a little while to figure it out, but once he does, he lets his body do all the heavy lifting, and he's able to move in there without any trouble at all. Not relying on Ki, but just using whatever comes naturally to him. And after staying in there a while to do basic training while still inheriting all of this godly energy, Nappa would get pretty dang efficient with it. And after leaving the realm, he would actually have access to Super Saiyan God. He's nowhere near Super Saiyan Blue since he hasn't trained with his God form, but because he mastered God Ki so quickly, he's able to utilize it in a transformation, resulting in Super Saiyan God. A truly fascinating turn of events for the Angel, who never would have expected Nappa to pick up on this quickly. It only took a matter of hours on the outside of the room, and Nappa came out with a brand new transformation and incredible mastery over God Ki. Whis isn't sure if Nappa's a genius or if he's able to do all this because he isn't. Either way, it's hell of impressive, and their training would start immediately for Nappa to master Ultra Instinct. Whis would begin coaching him on how to master the fundamentals of the form, that way his mastery over the actual transformation is better once he achieves it yet again. He could probably go into it right now, but he definitely wouldn't be able to maintain it, so they're teaching him how to use it while he's not actually using it. Although that's only roughly 10% of the time. The other 90% is spent actually getting Nappa up to a high enough level to use Ultra Instinct without immediately collapsing. His strength and speed increase exponentially. By around the 1 year mark of his training, he's already stronger than Goku and Vegeta were during the Goku Black arc. He doesn't have a training partner, which might sound like it reduces the effectiveness of his training, but keep in mind he's training with Whis, who is practically the perfect training partner. Not to mention that the Angel doesn't have to divide his attention between two people. He can focus solely on training Nappa, meaning it's a lot more effective for the Saiyan. At times, Nappa believes if he should get Gohan in on this, but honestly, he knows the hybrid Saiyan really doesn't like fighting all that much. Sure, he's a Saiyan, so he does get some fun out of it, but not the same sort of pleasure that most Saiyans would. He'd honestly rather just let Gohan live his life. Although eventually Nappa does have to go back to Earth because he senses a very familiar and distinct power on that planet. For some reason, Frieza has returned, and he is much stronger than before, now with a new transformation as well as an exceedingly more powerful base strength. This seems to be the perfect opportunity for Nappa to step in and show off all of his gains. However, when he gets there, he sees Gohan in his ultimate form absolutely pulverizing Golden Frieza. Since the Hybrid Saiyan kept up on his training, he would be more in line with his Tournament of Power level self, which was able to go toe-to-toe with true Golden Frieza, so the off-brand version of that isn't going to give him any trouble. Especially factoring in how quickly Frieza loses stamina, Gohan's got it in the bag. So Nappa just returns to Beerus' planet and keeps up his training with Whis. After a couple more months of training under the Angel, Nappa would be approached by Champa, the god of destruction of Universe 6, who's looking for his brother. Normally, he would go to the Angel, but he's probably attending to Beerus, so he'll just have their mortal slave, or whatever Nappa is, escort them to Beerus and Whis personally. To this, Nappa takes some offense, saying that whoever this guy is, even if he looks like Beerus, he better watch his tone. Nappa's no slave, he's a proud Saiyan warrior. Champa doesn't quite like his tone though, so he threatens Nappa with erasure, to which the Saiyan would power up into his Ultra Instinct state. He's now able to use it reliably, being about as strong as the Moroar Goku in base, but with a much more comprehensive understanding of the angelic technique. And this is baffling to the Universe 6 Destroyer, because in front of him stands a mortal who not only has Ultra Instinct, but is also stronger than him.